Hey there, history explorers. If you enjoy stepping into the past and imagining yourself there, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next journey. Now, tell me who should travel next and in what year before we begin another adventure. I would really love to know which state you are listening from and what time it is where you are. Let me know in the comments. All right, let's step back in time. It's the year 1903. The place is Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And our traveler, a 32-year-old flight attendant named Clara, is about to face a landing unlike any she's ever prepared for. The first thing she registers is the persistent, briny scent of salt clinging to everything. A heavy mist in the air that you can almost taste. It's a completely unfamiliar smell, far from the recycled cabin air she's used to. She feels the damp, coarse sand gritty beneath her bare feet, cold at first, then almost burning as the sun warms it. Her modern uniform, a crisp blue blazer and skirt, feels utterly alien and impractical here, gathering sand at the hems. Heavy with dampness, she shivers, not just from the cool breeze off the ocean, but from a deep, primal fear. This isn't a layover in an unexpected city, nor a delayed flight. There's no terminal, no crew to brief, no passenger manifest, no emergency exit, just an endless expanse of churning waves, shifting dunes, and a sky that looks different. Bigger, more empty. Her training, usually so comprehensive, offers no checklist for a temporal displacement. She instinctively searches for an exit row, a call button, anything familiar, but finds only the vast, indifferent landscape of the Outer Banks. Her mind races, a whirlwind of modern protocols clashing with this stark, primitive reality. She knows how to calm an anxious passenger, administer basic first aid, evacuate a plane in under 90 seconds. But how does one find potable water in 1903, or signal for help when the nearest major city is days away by horse? Let alone a place that understands a concept like plane crash at all. The thought of the small medical kit she always carries, now absent, makes her stomach clench. Her uniform pockets, usually a repository for pens, small tissues, and boarding passes, feel conspicuously empty. For an entire week, she exists in a daze, observing from a distance a small, peculiar camp further down the beach. She can hear the rhythmic hammering and sawing of wood, the low murmur of men's voices carried on the wind. Odd, canvas-covered structures sit squat on the sand, unlike anything she's ever seen, yet strangely reminiscent of wings. It's an unsettling, almost absurd sight, given her profession. She finds herself instinctively trying to calculate approach angles, wind resistance, and payload. Her professional brain refusing to shut down even in this impossible situation. She attempts to scavenge, using her flight attendant's knack for observation and resourcefulness. She spots shellfish, edible berries she half remembers from a survival show, and fashions a crude shelter from driftwood and long grasses. A pale imitation of the well-organized emergency kits she's used to deploying. Each evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in colors no airline window can truly capture, she feels a profound, bone-deep weariness. It's a different kind of fatigue than after a 12-hour red-eye, a primal exhaustion that settles not just in her muscles, but in her very soul, born of the constant, unspoken question, how do you survive when the world itself has fundamentally changed, and there's no going back? The nights now belong to the incessant, almost deafening chorus of crickets, a sound that vibrates through her makeshift shelter of branches and leaves. It's a rhythmic, primal hum, so different from the artificial white noise of an airplane cabin. Against her skin, she feels the coarse, scratchy wool of a simple, ill-fitting dress she managed to barter from a wary local woman. It smells faintly of wood smoke and damp earth, a raw scent that replaces the sanitized fabric softener of her own clothes, which are now packed away, hidden, feeling like a relic from another world. Her uniform, carefully concealed, remains a symbol of an unreachable past. This new garment, rough against her skin, is a physical manifestation of her altered reality. She watches the men at the camp with a growing, complicated understanding. The strange, skeletal structures they meticulously assemble, the constant adjustments, the earnest, intense conversations she can only vaguely decipher from a distance. Her flight attendant brain, steeped in the language of aerodynamics, lift, and drag, begins to connect the dots. This is the birthplace of flight, right here, on this desolate stretch of sand. The realization hits her with a jolt that's both awe-inspiring and terrifying. She, a guardian of modern air travel, is witnessing its very inception. Her instinct to help, ingrained from years of anticipating passenger needs and managing complex situations, struggles against the invisible wall of time and custom. She wants to offer advice, to warn them of potential dangers she knows will arise in aviation's early years. But how? Her words, even if understood, would sound utterly insane. She practices gestures, miming actions, trying to recall her basic first aid training and how it might translate without modern equipment. She thinks about the emergency landing procedures, the calm instructions, the focus on passenger safety. What good is that here, where the concept of a passenger in a flying machine doesn't even exist? She spends her days observing the camp more closely, trying to understand their routines, their tools, their basic needs. Her professional eye for detail, honed by countless pre-flight checks and cabin inspections. Now scans for different things: sources of food, fresh water, potential hazards. In this raw landscape, she notices the primitive sanitation practices, the absence of clean running water, and a new, unsettling fear begins to settle in, a fear of unseen microbes, of diseases she knows modern medicine has long conquered, but which would be rampant here. Her modern assumptions about hygiene, about safety standards, about basic infrastructure become glaring hindrances, highlighting her profound vulnerability. As the sun sets, painting the vast sky in fiery oranges and purples, she retreats to her makeshift shelter. The sand, still warm from the day, yields to her weight. She feels an ache deep in her bones, a persistent weariness that isn't just physical. It's the exhaustion of living in a world that doesn't understand her, where her most fundamental knowledge is useless, and her very presence is an impossible secret. The distant, primitive world, once a mere abstract concept in history books, now presses in on her, real and unyielding. The acrid smoke of pine wood fills her nostrils, sharp and biting, a constant companion now. It emanates from the small, sputtering fire where she tries to cook a meager meal, and from the distant workshop where the mysterious men continue their industrious work. This smell, raw and earthy, replaces the faint scent of jet fuel and airplane disinfectant that once signified her workplace. She feels the growing calluses on her palms, a testament to the repetitive, unglamorous tasks of survival: gathering firewood, digging for roots, scrubbing sand from simple tin pots. Her hands, once meticulously cared for, nails manicured for customer service, are now rough, stained, and perpetually chapped. She notices the staring eyes, not hostile, but curious, often following her movements from the scattered, humble dwellings nearby. Her appearance, her mannerisms, even the way she carries herself, must be unusual here. Her uniform, now a distant memory, would have commanded respect and a sense of authority. This rough wool dress and her quiet demeanor make her just another struggling soul on the fringes. The polite, professional smile she instinctively offers is met with solemn gazes, a stark reminder that the social protocols of her time hold no meaning here. She feels a profound isolation, the absence of any peer group who understands her reality. Her ingrained flight attendant duties, like ensuring passenger comfort and anticipating needs, now manifest in strange, often futile ways. She finds herself constantly scanning for potential hazards, not just in her immediate surroundings, but in the broader landscape, the unpredictable ocean, the shifting sands, the rudimentary tools she sees being used at the camp. She subconsciously inventories the supplies available in her small world, mentally comparing them to an emergency kit that would feel like a luxury liner here. A bottle of sterile saline solution, a single bandage, even a packet of antiseptic wipes would be a godsend. She mentally assesses the locals' children for signs of illness, her knowledge of modern sanitation making her hyper-aware of the ever-present risks. The stark absence of any first-class comfort is a daily, relentless assault on her senses. No temperature control, no soft seating, no hot running water, no clean lavatories. Every basic need is a challenge, every meal a triumph of resourcefulness. She misses the simple luxury of a hot shower, the soft give of a mattress, the hum of air conditioning. These aren't just amenities, they are the backdrop of her previous life. The fundamental assumptions of comfort and safety she took for granted. She observes the men at the camp, their faces smudged with grease and dirt, their hands scarred from labor, and a wave of doubt washes over her. Can she truly adapt to this level of hardship? Not just physically, but mentally. As the week ends, a new kind of doubt settles in her mind, heavy as the damp ocean air. It's a doubt not just about survival, but about her very identity. The person she was, the highly capable professional, feels like she's slowly dissolving into this primitive landscape. The lines between past and present blur with each passing day. And she wonders if she'll ever truly recognize herself again. The cold morning mist bites at her exposed skin, a chilling dampness that permeates her rough wool dress. It clings to her hair, her eyelashes, blurring the stark outlines of her primitive dwelling. A crude lean-to of driftwood and scavenged sailcloth. Inside, the sand is still cold from the night, a constant, gritty reminder of her unyielding reality. The heavy silence, broken only by the distant murmur of waves and the cries of gulls, feels vastly different from the gentle hum of an airplane's engines that once accompanied her awakenings. She meticulously sweeps the sand inside her small shelter with a bundle of dried grasses, an almost ritualistic act of organization. Each carefully placed pebble, each smoothed patch of sand, is an attempt to impose order on a chaotic world, a desperate echo of the perfectly aligned seatbelts and straightened magazines she once oversaw. Her hands, calloused and chapped, move with a familiar, if misplaced, efficiency. Her flight attendant's instinct for anticipating needs, for preparing for every contingency, now manifests in the tedious tasks of foraging and securing her meager camp. She finds herself mentally reviewing safety procedures, not for an emergency landing, but for a sudden storm or an unexpected animal encounter, translating her training into the language of raw survival. She watches the distant camp, the figures of the men moving purposefully around their strange, winged machine. Her professional understanding of flight safety makes her acutely aware of the dangers inherent in their experimental gliders. She mentally runs through impossible emergency protocols, imagining the task of securing passengers or directing an evacuation from such an open-air, rudimentary craft. The thought of turbulence in their context would be a matter of life and death, not just an inconvenience. Her modern assumptions about predictable mechanics and fail-safes are constantly challenged by the sheer audacity and fragility of what she observes. Her modern profession, designed to manage comfort and safety at thousands of feet, now feels utterly stripped of its purpose. There are no passengers to greet, no safety demonstrations to perform, no meals to serve. The skills that once defined her, her calm demeanor under pressure, her ability to de-escalate conflicts, her meticulous attention to detail regarding cabin security, are now adrift. She tries to apply her reasoning to local problems, observing the primitive fishing techniques, thinking of more efficient netting or storage. But her thoughts are purely academic, without the tools or the social standing to implement them. The locals, when she encounters them, remain distant, their eyes holding a mixture of curiosity and wariness towards the solitary woman who appeared on their shores. As this fourth week comes to an end, a quiet resignation settles over her. Her purpose, once clear and defined by her uniform and her role, feels like a distant memory, a faint echo in the vast, empty space of this unfamiliar time. She is no longer a flight attendant, but simply a woman existing day by day, under a sky that promises not distant destinations, but only the relentless present. The incessant whispers of the wind, laden with salt and fine sand, become a constant companion, a presence that feels both lonely and vast. She tastes the raw, metallic tang of fish on her tongue, swallowed quickly to quell the hunger pangs. It's a flavor so far removed from the carefully plated, often bland, airline meals she once served. A stark reminder of how far she has fallen from her previous world of sanitized sustenance. The texture is unfamiliar, slick and cold, a visceral connection to the wildness around her. She watches the men at the camp with a peculiar mix of awe and disbelief. Their dedication is palpable, their hands calloused from shaping wood and canvas. She observes them making meticulous adjustments to their glider, measuring, testing, and then remeasuring, their faces etched with intense concentration. Her own disbelief echoes the whispers of the wind. How could something so complex, so revolutionary, be born from such rudimentary tools and raw ambition? Her flight attendant's mind, trained to understand the intricate systems of modern aircraft, struggles to reconcile the sophistication of a Boeing 747 with the fragile, almost toy-like structure she sees being assembled on the dunes. Her modern assumptions about hygiene, about the immediate availability of fresh, clean water continue to be a source of constant, low-level anxiety. She meticulously washes her few possessions and her hands in the ocean, knowing it's not truly sanitizing, but it's the closest she can get to the sterile environment she once managed. She thinks of the meticulously clean lavatories, the antiseptic wipes always on hand, the pure filtered air. Here, every breath carries dust and salt. Every surface feels gritty, and the omnipresent threat of infection, invisible but real, nags at her. The hard reality of her situation settles deeper into her bones this week. The initial shock and fear have begun to recede, replaced by a quiet, persistent determination. Her flight attendant's training in resourcefulness, in adapting to unexpected challenges, now shifts to the mundane. She learns to recognize safe foraging spots, distinguishes edible plants from poisonous ones, and her movements become more economical, less clumsy on the shifting sand. Her body, once accustomed to the controlled environments of airports and cabins, slowly adapts to the relentless sun, the biting wind, and the uneven terrain. She feels her muscles growing stronger, her skin tougher, as the days turn, marked only by the rising and setting of the sun. She realizes the weight of her knowledge. She knows the future of flight, the marvels and the tragedies yet to come. It's a burden, a secret she can never share, a constant, gnawing awareness of what will be. She is an observer, a ghost from the future, watching the dawn of an era she once served, and the quiet acceptance of this profound separation deepens with each passing, solitary week. The ceaseless rhythm of the waves crashing on the shore now feels like the beat of her own existence, a constant, powerful presence that has replaced the artificial hum of aircraft engines. She feels the course, knotted ropes chafing against her hands as she learns to haul fishing nets, pulling them in with a desperate strength she didn't know she possessed. Her palms, already calloused, now develop raw, tender spots, a testament to this new, physically demanding work. The pungent smell of brine, seaweed, and fresh fish clinging to the nets is her new reality. Far from the subtle sense of perfume and coffee that once defined her cabin environment, her flight attendant's capacity for teamwork and coordination, honed by years of working in confined spaces with diverse crews, unexpectedly finds an outlet here. She observes the unspoken communication between the local men and women as they work the nets, their movements synchronized, their efforts combined. She quickly learns to anticipate the next step, to position herself effectively, even without understanding their spoken words. Her ability to quickly assess a situation and jump in where needed, a core skill for any cabin crew, makes her a surprisingly effective helper, earning her a few nods of grudging acknowledgement. This week marks a significant shift. She's no longer just surviving in isolation, but actively participating, however peripherally, in the daily life of the small coastal community. Her modern assumptions about efficiency and leisure are constantly challenged. Here, work is a relentless, continuous cycle, dictated by the tides and the sun, not by a scheduled shift. There's no downtime or crew rest. Every moment is dedicated to the essential tasks of food, shelter, and basic maintenance. She notices the sheer physical endurance of the locals, their bodies hardened by generations of manual labor, and feels a renewed sense of respect and a desperate drive to match it. She remembers the detailed safety briefings, the precise instructions for handling equipment, the emphasis on efficiency and customer service. Here, the equipment is raw wood and handmade nets, and the service is simply contributing to the collective survival. Her experience managing diverse personalities on a flight now helps her navigate the unspoken social dynamics of the community, sensing when to be quiet, when to observe, and when to offer a silent helping hand. This adaptation, born of necessity, begins to reforge her sense of purpose. As the week concludes, she feels a profound, almost bone-deep exhaustion. But it's a different kind than before. It's the exhaustion of meaningful labor, of contributing to something larger than herself, even if that something is simply the day-to-day struggle of a community. In 1903, she is no longer just a ghost from the future, but a working hand in the present. Her new work ethic a strange, unexpected comfort in this primitive world. The rhythm of the waves, once a symbol of her displacement, now feels like a steady heartbeat, anchoring her to this foreign shore. The rich, earthy aroma of simmering stew, thick with wild herbs and chunks of fish, fills her senses, a comforting warmth against the ever-present briny air. She feels the rough texture of the wooden spoon against her lips, savoring each mouthful, a stark contrast to the plastic utensils and prepackaged meals of her former life. Around her, the low murmur of voices blends with the soft crackle of a communal fire, punctuated by bursts of shared laughter that ripple through the small gathering. It's a sound she hasn't truly heard in weeks, a pure, uninhibited joy that feels like a balm to her solitary spirit. She finds herself instinctively moving to help distribute the meal, her hands quickly and efficiently ladling the steaming stew into crude earthenware bowls. It's a familiar motion, echoes of serving passengers, ensuring everyone receives their share, even without understanding the words being exchanged. Her ingrained sense of hospitality and service, once directed at weary travelers, now finds a simple, human outlet. She notices the appreciative glances, the small gestures of thanks, a silent acknowledgement of her quiet contribution. This shared moment, this warmth of strangers, is a brief but powerful respite from the profound loneliness that has been her constant companion. Her flight attendant's observational skills, honed by years of scanning cabins for signs of distress or need, now focus on the subtle dynamics of this small community. She reads their body language, the easy camaraderie between families, the way they share scarce resources without question. She sees the simple, unadorned joy in their faces as they eat, a kind of contentment that feels deeply authentic, far removed from the sometimes superficial politeness of her past interactions. This challenges her modern assumptions about happiness and what truly constitutes a meaningful connection. There are no fancy amenities, no entertainment systems, just the shared human experience of food and companionship, the fear of unfamiliar germs, while still a quiet hum in the back of her mind. Lessons in the face of this tangible human connection. She eats without hesitation, a significant step in her adaptation. Her knowledge of rudimentary first aid, once prepared for airsickness or minor cuts at 30,000 feet, now feels more grounded, observing the small cuts and scrapes on the children, mentally assessing how she might offer assistance if needed. She sees the resilience in their faces, the quiet acceptance of hardship, and a part of her, the part that once complained about turbulence or delayed flights, feels a profound humility. As the week draws to a close, a subtle shift occurs within her. The acute ache of displacement is momentarily eased by the unexpected comfort of human kindness. She realizes that while her professional skills might be obsolete, the core human desire for connection, for belonging, remains universal. This week, she felt less like an alien observer and more like a tentative part of something, a fleeting moment of warmth in a world that had, until now, felt relentlessly cold and distant. The rich, earthy smell of damp sand after a morning shower, mingled with the faint aroma of wood smoke and dried fish, is a familiar scent now, almost comforting. She strains her ears, trying to decipher the thick, rolling accents of the local dialect, a language that feels both alien and distantly American. The rapid cadence, the swallowed syllables, the unfamiliar idioms. It's like listening to a foreign language, despite recognizing individual words. She focuses on the expressions on their faces, the gestures of their hands, the subtle shifts in their posture. Her flight attendant's professional read on people kicking in, overriding the verbal confusion. Her years of managing a diverse international clientele have trained her to observe minute, non-verbal cues. She learned to spot anxiety in a furrowed brow, frustration in a clenched jaw, or relief in a relaxed shoulder, often long before a passenger ever spoke a word. Now, those same skills are her primary tool for navigating the social landscape of Kitty Hawk. She notices a mother's worried glance at a child's flushed face, a fisherman's quiet pride in a successful catch, the hesitant curiosity in the eyes of an older woman. These glimmers of understanding, these nonverbal connections, are small victories against the wall of linguistic difference. She recognizes a flicker of kindness in the way a local offers her a share of a simple meal without prompting, or how a child points out a patch of edible berries. These are not grand gestures, but small, consistent acts that slowly build a fragile bridge of trust. Her modern assumptions about privacy and personal space, however, are constantly challenged. The proximity of homes, the communal living, the lack of boundaries around personal information feels overwhelming at times. Yet, she understands that in a community dependent on each other for survival, such closeness is a necessity, a form of communal safety net. Her professional conditioning for maintaining a calm, reassuring demeanor, even in stressful situations, proves invaluable. She carries herself with a quiet composure, her reactions measured, avoiding any sudden movements or expressions that might be misinterpreted. She knows from her training that fear or agitation can be contagious, and in this vulnerable position, appearing competent and steady is crucial. She observes the men at the Wright's camp, their focused intensity, and she can almost sense their silent frustration when an experiment doesn't yield the desired result. Their quiet determination mirroring the resilience she's learned to cultivate in herself. As the week ends, a subtle warmth spreads through her, a quiet acknowledgement that she is no longer entirely alone. The isolation hasn't vanished, but it is less suffocating. She feels the slow, painstaking process of assimilation, not just into a different era, but into the fabric of a nascent community. The trust she glimpses, small and fragile as it is, feels more profound than any superficial pleasantry she exchanged in her past life. A genuine human connection forged in the crucible of shared existence. The rough canvas, stiff with salt and sun, feels surprisingly familiar beneath her calloused fingers as she carefully pushes a thick needle through a tear. The smell of the canvas, blended with the faint aroma of tar and the ever-present ocean, is a rich, working scent. She concentrates on the steady, rhythmic pull of the thread, the satisfying resistance of the fabric, a quiet focus that replaces the constant mental chatter of her past life. This isn't the careful stitching of a uniform button, but a repair vital to a fishing boat, to the livelihood of the community. Her flight attendant's meticulous attention to detail, usually applied to safety equipment checks or cabin presentation, now finds a tangible outlet in the careful repair of the sail. Each stitch must be strong, secure, and precise, mirroring the criticality of pre-flight inspections. She remembers the responsibility of ensuring every emergency slide was properly armed, every life vest accessible. Here, the consequences of sloppy work are equally dire. A damaged sail means a lost catch, a hungry family. The focus required for the task is a welcome respite from the broader anxieties of her displacement. She feels a deep, unexpected satisfaction in the physical act of creation, of making something broken whole again. This week, her modern assumptions about productivity and expertise are recalibrated. In her former life, her work was largely service-oriented, managing complex logistics and human interactions. Here, value is measured in visible, tangible results: a mended net, a prepared meal, a repaired sail. She sees the respect in the eyes of the older woman who showed her the technique, a quiet acknowledgement of a skill well applied. Her hands, once accustomed to pushing buttons and carrying trays, now find purpose in rough, practical labor. The sense of accomplishment is profound, utterly different from the abstract satisfaction of a smoothly run flight. She observes the men at the Wright's camp, their faces smudged with grease, their hands similarly rough from their mechanical endeavors. They are also engaged in tangible labor, meticulously shaping wood, stretching fabric, tinkering with their engine. She recognizes a shared dedication, a focus on craftsmanship that transcends the vast chasm between their respective eras. Their goal, flight, seems to her both monumental and incredibly fragile, dependent on the same careful, manual attention to detail she is now employing to mend a sail. She feels a connection to their efforts, a silent understanding of the quiet pride that comes from working with one's hands to create or repair something essential. As the last stitch is pulled tight, securing the patch and restoring the sail to its function, a powerful sense of quiet triumph settles over her. It's not the grand achievement of piloting a plane, but a small, vital victory earned through manual labor. She realizes that perhaps true purpose isn't found in the height of one's ambition, but in the simple, honest act of contributing, of making a real, tangible difference, however small, in the immediate world around you. The warmth of the afternoon sun, a comforting weight on her shoulders, settles her. She feels the fine sand sifting through her fingers as she works on a woven mat, a rhythmic, grounding motion that has become second nature. Her gaze drifts to the familiar lines of the older woman's face, etched with sun and wisdom, as the woman nods approvingly at her careful, intricate weaving. The subtle scent of dried grasses and pine resin from the mat replaces the harsh, industrial smells of her former life. A gentler, more natural fragrance that now signifies a sense of belonging. This week, the sense of isolation that had been a tight knot in her chest begins to noticeably loosen. The older woman, whose name she now understands as Alara, has become a quiet anchor in her bewildering existence. Alara's presence, her knowing glances, the patient way she demonstrates a technique with her gnarled hands. These are a form of communication Clara understands deeply, transcending the barriers of their different dialects. It reminds her of the silent camaraderie she shared with her flight crew, the unspoken understanding forged through shared experience and mutual reliance in cramped spaces. She finds herself instinctively anticipating Alara's needs without a single spoken word. Fetching water from the well before Alara gestures, or offering a hand with a heavy basket of harvested roots before the request is even thought. It's an extension of her professional skill, repurposed for genuine connection. Her modern assumptions about interaction, once centered on formal pleasantries and efficient service, now adapt to a slower, more intimate rhythm. Trust here is built on shared labor, consistent presence, and quiet acts of kindness, not on titles or polished uniforms. She notices how the local children, once wary, no longer stare with wide-eyed curiosity, but sometimes approach her with small, shy smiles, occasionally even holding out a smooth stone or a shell they found on the beach. The harsh edges of survival, though still physically demanding, are softened by these small, repeated gestures of acceptance. She no longer feels like an intruder, but a quiet, contributing fixture in the periphery of their lives. Her quiet demeanor interpreted not as aloofness, but perhaps as respectful introspection. Her flight attendants training in remaining calm and adaptable, in finding practical solutions in constrained environments, now applies to her own emotional landscape. Instead of battling the gnawing despair of her displacement, she focuses intently on the immediate, on the texture of the sand beneath her bare feet, the warmth of a communal fire, the shared glance with Alara over a task, the vast, overwhelming concept of time travel retreats to the background, making way for the tangible, demanding reality of each sunrise and sunset. She's less concerned with how she got here, and far more focused on how she is here effectively. She still observes the distant camp of the Wright brothers, their continued efforts a constant, silent reminder of her origin. But the urgency of her observation has changed. It's less about escape and more about understanding the future she knows they will inevitably birth. As this 10th week comes to a close, a profound sense of acceptance dawns within her. It's not happiness in the way she once understood it, not yet, but a quiet, resilient peace. She realizes that while she may never return to her own time, she is finding a genuine place, however small, in this one. The comfort of a familiar face, a shared smile, a task completed together, now anchors her firmly in the present. A quiet defiance against the vastness of her impossible journey, the rhythmic creak of wooden oars cutting through the calm morning water. A sound she once considered purely historical now accompanies her every sunrise. It's a natural, organic sound, a stark contrast to the distant hum of jet engines that once signaled the start of her day. She feels the familiar drag of the fishing net, damp and heavy, against her hands, her muscles protesting less than they used to. The pungent smell of the morning's catch, briny and fresh, fills her nostrils, not as a foreign assault, but as a robust, honest scent of daily life. Her observational skills, honed by years of managing diverse passenger groups and anticipating crew needs in the confined space of a cabin, now allow her to navigate the intricate, unspoken rhythms of this small coastal community. She instinctively knows when to help haul a boat onto the sand, when to prepare the fish for drying, when to gather kindling for the communal fire. There are no schedules to consult, no announcements to make. Yet the flow of activity is as precise as any flight manifest. She reads the subtle cues in the tilt of a head, the hand gesture, the shared glance, understanding her role without a single word needing to be exchanged. This silent choreography is a powerful, unifying force, and she finds herself moving within it with a growing, intuitive grace. Her modern assumptions about individualism and personal ambition slowly recede, replaced by a profound appreciation for collective effort. In her past life, efficiency meant minimizing individual discomfort and maximizing individual service. Here, efficiency means the survival of the group. She notices how her quick, methodical movements, a legacy of her profession, now contribute tangibly to the community's output. A fishing boat loaded faster, a meal prepared more smoothly. These small contributions are significant. Her knowledge of basic sanitation, while still a concern, is balanced by the sight of families working together. Their resilience and shared purpose creating a different kind of strength, a collective immunity to the overwhelming challenges of their era. The occasional glimpse of the distant camp, where the Wright brothers continue their tireless work on their flying machines, no longer fills her with the same urgent, disorienting disbelief. Instead, she sees it as another facet of human endeavor, a different kind of rhythm, driven by an equally profound, though utterly foreign, purpose. She watches them, still an outsider to their specific quest, but no longer a stranger to the human impulse to build, to create, to push boundaries. Their relentless tinkering, their repeated trials and errors, mirror the daily grind of survival here, just with different stakes. As the week ends, a quiet sense of permanence settles over her, the constant rhythm of the tides, once a reminder of how far she was from home, now feels like the pulse of her own life, slowly, irrevocably anchoring her to this ancient shore. She is no longer just observing the tide, but moving with it, becoming a part of its relentless, enduring flow. The persistent warmth of the crackling fire, a gentle embrace on her face, pushes back against the cool evening air. The rich scent of roasted sweet potatoes and simmering fish, a deep, nourishing aroma, mingles with the ever-present tang of the ocean. She feels the rough texture of the communal blanket beneath her hands as she sits among the small gathering, a comfortable weight that speaks of shared shelter. She watches the faces around her, illuminated by the dancing flames, their expressions shifting with the ebb and flow of stories. They speak of the sea, of relentless storms that claimed boats, of the bravery of ancestors, of simple harvests and quiet joys. She doesn't grasp every word, the thick dialect still a challenge, but her flight attendant's intuition for human emotion allows her to follow the narrative threads. She senses the weight of memory, the thrill of a past adventure, the comfort of shared history. Her professional skill in understanding unspoken cues, the furrowed brows of concern, the relaxed smiles of contentment, the shared laughter that needs no translation, helps her navigate these oral traditions, feeling a deep, quiet resonance. The world these stories paint is one utterly devoid of flight paths, of destinations reached in hours, of the very concept of air travel. Journeys are arduous, measured by footfalls through sand, by the strength of an oar, by the shifting currents of the Atlantic. She thinks of the vast, intricate network of invisible routes crisscrossing her home sky, the precise flight plans, the constant communication between pilots and ground control. Here, navigation is by the stars, by the shape of the dunes, by an innate understanding of the water. Her modern assumptions about speed and convenience are not just challenged, they are obliterated by a reality where a trip to a nearby town could take days. Her knowledge of global connectivity, of different cultures linked by regular air service, feels incredibly distant, almost fantastical in this setting. This community, while warm and resilient, is isolated, its news carried by the occasional fisherman or passing schooner. There is no urgency to connect to far-flung places, because such connections simply don't exist in their perception. She observes the children, their eyes wide with wonder at tales of the past, and wonders what stories they will tell of the future. A future where the sky itself becomes a highway, a reality born just a few miles down the beach. As the fire dies down, casting longer shadows over the dunes, she feels a profound sense of rootedness. The loneliness of her initial displacement is still a part of her, a deep, silent ache, but it is now intertwined with the quiet strength of human connection. She understands that while her professional life was about guiding people through the sky, this life is about grounding her in the earth and in the enduring power of human connection, even in a world that doesn't yet dream of flight paths. The fiery hues of the sunset, bleeding from vivid orange to deep purple across the vast, unbroken sky, paint a masterpiece she watches with quiet reverence. She feels the cool, soft sand shift beneath her as she sits, letting the last warmth of the day caress her face. The only sounds are the rhythmic sigh of the waves and the distant cry of gulls, a natural symphony that has replaced the artificial hum of jet engines and cabin announcements. This vast, stark landscape, once intimidating, now holds a profound, raw beauty she is learning to truly see. This week, a significant shift settles within her. The sharp ache of longing for the conveniences of her own time, for hot showers, for instant communication, for the endless entertainment options of modernity, has softened. Instead, she finds herself genuinely savoring the simplicity of this existence. Her flight attendant's eye for detail, once focused on the comfort and presentation of a cabin, now keenly observes the intricate patterns of wind-blown sand, the delicate curve of a seashell, the subtle changes in the ocean's color. She notices the effortless grace of a lone heron taking flight, a sight more captivating than any in-flight movie could ever be. She recognizes the genuine tranquility that comes from being unburdened by schedules and technology, a kind of peace that was often elusive in her high-paced former life. Her modern assumptions about what constitutes a good life are thoroughly recalibrated. She used to equate comfort with luxury, efficiency with progress, and connection with constant digital presence. Now, comfort is a full belly and a dry shelter. Progress is a successful fishing trip, and connection is a shared, silent moment around a crackling fire, or a simple nod of understanding from Alara. The relentless pressure of her old profession to anticipate every passenger's need, to be constantly on, has given way to a quiet, present awareness of her immediate surroundings. She is no longer striving to facilitate another's journey, but living her own, step by natural step. She still sees the distant camp of the Wright brothers, their small, canvas-winged gliders standing sentinel on the dunes. Their pursuit of mechanical flight, once the very core of her profession, now feels like an abstract, distant ambition against the backdrop of this vast, natural world. While she understands its historical significance, her personal focus is no longer drawn to it with the same urgency. She is too immersed in the grounded reality of her days, in the feel of earth and sand, in the rhythm of the sun and sea. Their ambition aims for the sky, while her newfound contentment lies firmly on the ground, in the simple, unadorned beauty of each passing moment. As the final sliver of sun dips below the horizon, painting the clouds in fiery farewells, she feels a surprising, quiet joy. It's a genuine contentment, born not of abundance or convenience, but of deep presence and a profound appreciation for the elemental. She realizes that the richness of life isn't always found in how far one can travel or how much one possesses, but in the quiet capacity to find beauty and purpose in the simplicity of just being right here, right now, in a world utterly unconcerned with modernity. The coarse, salty breeze whispers tales from the ocean as it brushes against her face, carrying the scent of pine and distant campfires. She feels the familiar weight of a child's small hand in hers, a gesture of quiet trust, sitting by a sputtering fire. She listens intently, not just with her ears to the unfamiliar dialect, but with her entire being, absorbing the nuances of unspoken emotion in the hushed tones and knowing glances of the women around her. The crackle of the flames becomes a backdrop to the unfolding dramas of their lives. Small joys and daily struggles shared in a way that transcends words. Her flight attendant's listening skills, honed by years of patiently hearing countless passenger complaints, anxieties, and personal stories in the confined space of an airplane, now become her most powerful tool for connection. Without needing to fully understand every word, she comprehends the underlying emotions. The weariness in a mother's sigh over a sick child, the quiet pride in a fisherman's wife recounting a good catch, the unspoken grief for a lost, loved one. She offers silent nods, a gentle squeeze of a hand, a sympathetic glance, non-verbal affirmations that convey understanding and empathy more effectively than any spoken phrase. These are the foundations of genuine friendships, built on presence and shared vulnerability, not on common history. Her modern assumptions about professional boundaries and emotional distance, once a necessity in her job, are completely dissolved here. In her past, while she often listened, it was within a professional context, with an emotional distance maintained. Here, genuine connection demands an openness, an emotional investment that goes beyond mere service. The simple act of truly listening, of holding space for another person's quiet burdens, makes her an unexpected confidant. She finds that her calm, reassuring demeanor, a professional asset, translates into a personal comfort for the villagers, a steady presence in their unpredictable world. She doesn't offer advice from her future knowledge. She offers the simple, powerful gift of being heard. She still observes the distant camp where the Wright brothers continue their solitary work, their focus on mechanical marvels starkly contrasting with the human dramas unfolding around her fire. Their pursuit of the sky feels almost secondary now to the immediate, tangible needs of this community. She realizes that while their invention will connect the world in unimaginable ways, it is these quiet, face-to-face connections that truly knit the fabric of human existence. The abstract goal of flight, with all its future complexities, pales in comparison to the immediate, visceral reality of a shared worry, a comforting touch, a moment of genuine understanding. As the week ends, her heart feels lighter, yet also heavier with the weight of these shared confidences. She understands now that friendship isn't about grand gestures or shared backgrounds, but about the quiet, consistent act of being present for one another. She, the accidental traveler, has found herself becoming a confidant of this ancient shore. Her listening skills forging bonds far more resilient than she ever imagined. Bonds that subtly root her deeper into this past, making it her own. The deep, comforting scent of hearth smoke, heavy with the aroma of burning oak and dried fish, wraps around her like a familiar embrace. It's a fragrance that now signifies not just warmth, but safety and presence, utterly replacing the artificial smells of jet fuel or airplane disinfectant that once filled her world. She feels the smooth, worn wood of the stool beneath her, a solid, grounded sensation as she watches the firelight dance across the faces of the families gathered in Alara's small dwelling. The rough wool dress, once an uncomfortable scratch against her skin, now feels like a second skin, a part of her adapted reality. Her flight attendant's meticulous attention to detail, once focused on cabin presentation and passenger safety, now manifests in the quiet order she brings to Alara's small home. She instinctively organizes the cooking implements, smooths the sleeping mats, and sweeps away errant sand with a practiced, efficient grace. These are not duties imposed, but contributions offered, born of a genuine desire to maintain the harmony of this newfound home. She moves through the dwelling with a quiet confidence, no longer an outsider cautiously observing, but a contributing hand, her movements integrated into the rhythm of the household. The children, once shy, now sometimes lean against her as she works, a silent acknowledgement of her belonging. Her modern assumptions about what constitutes home have profoundly shifted. It's no longer a climate-controlled apartment filled with technology and endless conveniences. Home is this small, dimly lit space, warmed by a fire, filled with the soft murmur of voices and the shared breath of human connection. It's the feeling of security that comes from knowing her place, however humble, within this community. The absence of electricity, running water, and instant communication, once a source of constant frustration, is now simply the way things are, a natural state. She finds a surprising depth of satisfaction in the elemental, in the honest labor that provides warmth and sustenance, a stark contrast to the often abstract nature of her former profession. She occasionally catches herself humming a forgotten melody from her own time, a small, internal breach of the past. But the longing it evokes is muted, softened by the present, even the distant sight of the Wright brothers' camp. Their strange, canvas-winged contraptions standing stark against the dunes no longer ignites the same desperate pang of separation. They are a part of this landscape, just as she is, each pursuing their own form of purpose, one reaching for the heavens, the other rooted to the earth. She understands their relentless pursuit, their quiet obsession with flight, but it feels like a different kind of destiny, a future she carries within her, but no longer actively seeks to reclaim. As the week draws to a close, a quiet contentment settles in her heart, deep and true. The sharp, disorienting ache of being misplaced has softened into a gentle hum of belonging. She realizes that home isn't just a place on a map or a specific year in time, but a profound feeling forged in shared moments, in the quiet acceptance of others, and in the enduring capacity of the human spirit to adapt, to connect, and to find peace even in the most unexpected of realities. The persistent, almost hypnotic whirring of wooden wings, accompanied by the strained creak of metal, carries on the wind. It's a sound unlike anything else on this wild shore, a mechanical intrusion into the natural symphony of waves and gulls. She feels a familiar tingle of anticipation, a nervous energy that reminds her of a pre-flight briefing. The smell of hot oil and wood varnish, so distinct from the briny air, now drifts from the distant camp, pulling her attention. This week, her gaze is drawn repeatedly to the distant camp of the Wright brothers. She watches them, less as an awestruck observer, and more as a professional with deep, almost innate knowledge of flight. Her flight attendant's understanding of aerodynamics, even if simplified for her role, now allows her to recognize the meticulousness of their adjustments, the precise calculations, the constant iteration of their designs. She sees the frustration etched on their faces when a test fails, the quiet determination that propels them forward. There's a dangerous spark of recognition in her mind, a powerful connection to their endeavor, even as she remains separated by a century of progress. She understands the principles they are grasping towards, the forces they are trying to harness, in a way no one else in 1903 could. Her modern assumptions about the ease and safety of air travel are starkly contrasted by the raw, perilous nature of their experiments. She thinks of the complex safety systems of modern aircraft, the redundant engines, the sophisticated navigation. Here, it's sheer courage, trial and error, and an almost reckless optimism she mentally runs through emergency procedures, imagining the chaos of an uncontrolled descent from one of their gliders, the complete absence of any safety measures beyond instinct. Her professional training, designed to prevent catastrophic failures, makes her hyper-aware of every potential flaw, every precarious adjustment. She wants to shout warnings, to offer insights, but the chasm of time and knowledge is too vast. Her unique perspective, born of her profession, makes her an invisible oracle, a silent witness to history in the making. She sees the crude engine, the delicate wing warping, and recognizes the fundamental elements that will one day carry millions across continents. The profound irony is not lost on her. She, a seasoned veteran of commercial aviation, is watching its very awkward, dangerous birth. This deeper understanding, however, brings with it a fresh wave of isolation. She is witnessing a miracle, but cannot participate, cannot celebrate it with anyone who truly comprehends its future implications. As the week ends, the whirring of the wooden wings, though still distant, feels closer, more insistent. She feels the weight of her unique knowledge, a burden and a privilege. Her quiet life in the village, so comforting and grounded, is now constantly punctuated by the magnetic pull of the future unfolding just beyond the dunes. The spark of dangerous recognition has ignited a new, unsettling tension within her, a profound awareness of the monumental events about to take place, events that will change the world she now inhabits forever. The salty wind, usually a comforting presence, now feels charged with a nervous energy, ruffling her hair and tugging at her rough wool dress. She feels the fine sand grinding beneath her bare feet, an incessant reminder of the raw, unpredictable environment. The faint, metallic scent of the Wright brothers' engine, growing stronger with each passing day, pulls at her attention, a subtle siren's song of the future. This week, the weight of her knowledge becomes almost unbearable. She observes the brothers with an intensity born of both awe and a deep, unsettling anxiety. She sees their meticulous adjustments, their unwavering dedication, their brave, precarious tests, her modern aviation intuition, honed by thousands of hours in the air, screams with warnings. She thinks of stall speeds, of material fatigue, of the critical importance of control surfaces, of the basic aerodynamic principles they are so painstakingly discovering. The urge to speak, to offer a small, crucial piece of information that could save them time, or even prevent a disaster, becomes a physical itch, a burning tension in her chest. Her professional training, which taught her to calmly manage emergencies and prevent accidents, now feels deeply frustrated. She knows the future of flight, the long list of early failures and triumphs, the slow, agonizing process of learning what works and what doesn't. She knows the countless lives that will be lost before flight becomes safe. Her modern assumptions about open communication and the sharing of scientific knowledge clash violently with the reality of this era. where her words would be dismissed as madness, or worse, witchcraft. What if a subtle suggestion could change everything? What if it could prevent a serious injury or even death in those early, perilous flights? She watches them from a distance, her brow furrowed with concern. She sees the strain in their postures, the exhaustion in their movements, yet also the unyielding gleam of determination in their eyes. Her knowledge of first aid, while rudimentary by modern standards, makes her acutely aware of the dangers they face. She envisions herself rushing to their aid after a mishap, her flight attendants training to assess and assist taking over. But what could she truly do with no modern supplies, no advanced medical knowledge beyond the very basics? The irony is sharp. She is a guardian of air travel from the future, yet utterly powerless to guide its birth. As the week culminates, she feels a profound internal conflict, a silent battle between her ethical responsibility to her own timeline and the desperate human urge to help those at risk. The answer, she knows, is to remain silent, to let history unfold as it must. But the weight of that knowledge, the burden of being a silent witness to a precarious revolution, feels heavier than any physical task she has undertaken on this shore. It is a profound, lonely realization. Her presence here is not to intervene, but simply to observe. And that observation carries an almost unbearable, silent strain. The sharp, splintering sound of wood, followed by the dull thud of canvas hitting sand, cuts through the otherwise peaceful hum of the dunes. An acrid scent of ozone and strained metal briefly mingles with the familiar briny air. She feels a jolt of alarm, a visceral reaction that echoes the sudden, unexpected lurch of an aircraft hitting severe turbulence. Her gaze snaps to the distant camp, where a cloud of dust rises around the brothers' latest, ambitious contraption. She watches from her hidden vantage point as the figures of the men rush towards the fallen glider. She sees their slumped shoulders, the gestures of exasperation, the slow, methodical examination of the damage. Her flight attendant's training, which includes emergency procedures for everything from equipment malfunction to cabin decompression, springs to mind. She instantly mentally assesses the failure, recognizing a likely structural fatigue point or an instability in control. Her knowledge, a century's worth of learned lessons in aviation design and safety, screams silently within her. It's a tantalizing, agonizing itch. She knows the solution, or at least a path to it, a detail that could prevent this setback and propel them forward, a powerful temptation to intervene. A moral crosswind sweeps over her. Could a simple, anonymous note, a crudely drawn diagram, a whispered suggestion about wing warping or engine power, dramatically accelerate their progress? She remembers the long, slow, often tragic history of early aviation, the countless lives lost in the pursuit of flight. Her modern assumptions about the rapid pace of innovation, the sharing of scientific data, the collaborative nature of progress, make this slow, painstaking, solitary struggle feel almost unbearable. She could save them weeks, perhaps months, of frustration, maybe even prevent an injury. The desire to smooth their path, to ease their burden, is a potent force. But the immense, terrifying implications of such an act weigh heavily on her. Changing one small detail could ripple through time, altering not just the history of flight, but countless other events. What if her intervention led to an entirely different, perhaps darker, future? Her role, she understands, is not to be a guide to history, but a silent witness. She sees the Wrights' faces, grim, but already turning back to the task of repair, their resolve unbroken. She knows this struggle, this process of trial and error, is an essential part of their genius, of their discovery, not hers to interfere with. As the week concludes, the damaged glider, though partially repaired, still lies askew, a silent testament to the challenges of innovation. She feels the profound, almost aching burden of her knowledge, the powerlessness of foresight. To stand by and watch others struggle, knowing a simple word could ease their path, is a unique torment. She understands that true progress is often born from these very setbacks, these hard-won lessons, and that sometimes the greatest act of courage is not to intervene, but to trust in the arduous, unyielding journey of discovery itself. The brisk morning wind, carrying the familiar scent of salt and the subtle, lingering aroma of burnt wood from the Wright brothers' camp, feels different today. It's charged with a tense stillness, a sense of an impending moment. She feels the fine sand sifting through her fingers, an unconscious gesture as she walks the perimeter of their workshop, her heart beating a little faster than usual. This week, the internal debate, the moral crosswind that buffeted her, reaches its crescendo. She has watched their struggles, seen their painstaking efforts, and felt the familiar ache of knowing a simpler, more efficient path. Her flight attendant's understanding of the basic principles of lift and drag, gleaned from countless hours in the air and required safety training, whispers constant suggestions in her mind. She sees the subtle flaws in their wing designs, the slight inefficiencies that cost them precious seconds of airtime, risking their lives with each trial. The memory of last week's setback, the splintered wood and canvas, cemented her decision. The potential for injury, or worse, weighed heavily against the abstract fear of altering history. It was a calculated risk, a desperate human response to prevent unnecessary hardship for these pioneering men. She finds her opportunity. Near their workshop, a discarded piece of smoothly planed wood lies half buried in the sand, almost like a small, clean canvas. Her hands, usually accustomed to meticulously arranging cabin items or demonstrating safety features, now move with a cautious urgency. With a sharp piece of shell she found on the beach, she quickly, almost instinctively, sketches a simplified cross-section of a modern, more aerodynamically efficient airfoil shape onto the wood. It's crude, just a contour, but subtly different from their current, flatter wing designs. It's a shape that would generate more lift with less drag, a fundamental improvement. She then covers it lightly with sand, making it seem like a random, forgotten mark, easily dismissed, but visible enough to catch an observant eye. It's a secret imparted, a silent whisper of the future, her modern assumptions about collaboration, and the open exchange of scientific knowledge, though previously a hindrance, now fueled this act. She could not speak, but she could suggest, subtly, anonymously. She uses her professional ability to act quickly and decisively under pressure, performing this small act of intervention with a calm facade, though her insides churn. She knows the profound implications, the butterfly effect, the potential to alter the very fabric of the future she came from, the core of her profession, ensuring a safe and efficient journey, compels her to this daring, silent act. As she walks away, the cool sand settling back over her small, secret drawing, a shiver runs down her spine. The act is done. The die is cast. A new, unsettling quiet settles over her, not of peace, but of profound consequence. She has touched the past, left an indelible mark, and the future, her future, now hangs precariously, irrevocably altered by a single, desperate, well-meaning gesture. She wonders, with a quiet dread, what wings her silent whisper will ultimately help to shape. The sharp, insistent rasp of saw on wood, a different quality than before, now pierces the constant whisper of the wind. It's a sound that holds a new precision, a focused intent that vibrates through the sand. She feels a cold knot tighten in her stomach, a nervous awareness that transcends the familiar briny scent of the air. Her eyes, drawn like a magnet, fix on the distant workshop of the Wright brothers, a place now charged with the silent consequence of her actions. She observes them with a hypervigilance she once reserved for pre-flight safety checks. They are indeed working on the wings, but the curve, the subtle lift of the leading edge she can glimpse even from this distance, is different. It's slightly more pronounced. A gentle, almost imperceptible swelling that mirrors the crude sketch she left on the wood. Her flight attendant's brain, infused with a basic but fundamental understanding of aerodynamics, instantly recognizes the improved efficiency of that contour. It would generate more lift, reduce drag, making their efforts significantly more successful. A silent shift has occurred, A blueprint has been altered. A profound, uneasy sense of changing history washes over her, cold as the deepest ocean current. Her modern assumptions about the inviolability of the past, about her role as a mere observer, are shattered. She had, in a desperate moment, intervened. The weight of that decision, the enormous, unknowable cascade of effects, presses down on her. Her profession taught her the importance of meticulous planning and control, of adhering strictly to protocols. Here, she has thrown caution to the wind, introducing an anomaly, a butterfly flutter that could escalate into a temporal storm. The thought of the meticulously documented history of flight, the exact dates and details she learned as part of her training, now feels precariously unstable. A narrative she has subtly, irrevocably tampered with. She watches the brothers move with renewed purpose, their gestures more confident, less burdened by the previous week's setback. They seem energized, as if a new understanding has dawned upon them. A part of her feels a fleeting, almost dangerous satisfaction. She helped them. She eased their burden, accelerated their progress. But this brief triumph is quickly overshadowed by a gnawing fear. What if this small, seemingly beneficial alteration has unforeseen, catastrophic consequences for the future she came from? Her understanding of complex systems, of the delicate balance within an aircraft, now extends to the even more intricate balance of time itself. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in unfamiliar shades, she feels deeply, disturbingly alone. The comfort of the village, the quiet rhythm of her adapted life, feels distant, overshadowed by the enormity of what she has done. She is no longer just a misplaced soul, but an active, clandestine force in the shaping of history. The silent shift is real, tangible, and terrifyingly irreversible. She has stepped off the designated flight path of time, and now, with a chilling certainty, she knows there is no turning back, no way to predict the turbulence ahead. The distant, low hum of the gasoline engine, a sound she recognizes with a chilling clarity, is more sustained now, less faltering than before. It carries across the dunes on a steady breeze, mingling with the familiar scent of salt and dry grass. She feels the fine grains of sand shift beneath her as she watches, her breath held tight in her chest. The sight of their glider, perched on its launching rail, seems poised with a new, almost eager energy. She watches them, these unassuming brothers, as they prepare for another trial. Her flight attendant's trained eye, accustomed to judging the subtle nuances of an aircraft's performance, immediately detects a difference. The glider, when it takes to the air for its short, controlled hops, seems to lift with greater authority, to glide with a smoother, more stable trajectory. It's subtle, barely perceptible to anyone else in this era, but to her, It's a clear confirmation. The blueprint was altered. The airfoil curve she sketched, that small, seemingly insignificant detail, has made a tangible difference. The sky for these early pioneers has demonstrably changed. A profound, unsettling feeling settles over her, cold and heavy as a winter fog. This is the ripple effect. Her quiet intervention, a desperate whisper of the future, has already begun to manifest. She considers the meticulously recorded history of aviation, the precise dates of their early successes and failures, the slow, incremental steps of their progress. Now, that timeline feels fluid, elastic, bending to the will of her single, clandestine act, her modern assumptions about fixed historical narratives, about the impossibility of altering the past, are now shattered, replaced by a terrifying awareness of her own power and the immense, unknowable consequences. She helped, yes, but at what cost to the very fabric of time? Her professional experience, which taught her to anticipate potential problems and understand cause and effect in a highly complex system, now magnifies her anxiety. A more efficient wing means more time aloft, faster learning, perhaps an earlier or more successful first powered flight. But what ripple effects will that have on the world she remembers? Will it accelerate technological development in unforeseen ways, for better or worse? Will it impact other historical figures, other inventions, other wars? Her calm, collected facade, usually so reliable, feels thin, stretched to its limit by the enormity of her secret. The sheer unpredictability of it all is a constant, gnawing worry. As the week ends, the hum of the engine, though still faint, becomes a constant presence in her awareness. It's no longer just a sign of progress, but a haunting echo of her own interference. She knows, with a chilling certainty, that she has irrevocably altered the course of history, and the future she came from might now be entirely different. The sky is indeed changed, but the feeling within her remains profoundly, dangerously unsettled, carrying the silent burden of a secret that could reshape worlds. The persistent scent of drying fish, usually a comforting, familiar aroma in the village, now carries a faint, almost imperceptible undertone of something else. A sweeter, more processed smell that she can't quite place, but which feels subtly out of sync with the raw, elemental world around her. She feels a prickle of unease, like the subtle vibration in an aircraft that signals an imbalance. Her gaze, sharpened by an unbidden anxiety, scans the faces of the villagers, searching for a sign, a confirmation of the unsettling feeling growing within her. This week, the ripples of her quiet intervention begin to manifest in unexpected ways, subtle yet deeply unsettling. She notices a change in the demeanor of one of the younger boys, a boy she remembers as particularly quiet and observant. He now carries himself with a slightly bolder stride, a flicker of restless curiosity in his eyes that seems more intense, almost impatient. One afternoon, she sees him meticulously carving a small wooden glider, its wings possessing a subtle, upward curve near the leading edge, a contour strikingly similar to the one she sketched, and which the Wright brothers are now incorporating into their designs. It's a look of nascent ambition, a confusion born from an accelerated understanding, reflecting a future that shouldn't yet be dawning in this child's mind. Her flight attendant's training in observing passenger behavior, in detecting subtle shifts in mood or environment, now translates into a heightened sensitivity to deviations in the historical narrative. She remembers the careful balance of a flight plan, where a small change in wind speed or altitude could have cascading effects on arrival times or fuel consumption. Here, the flight plan of history feels disrupted. Her modern assumptions about the slow, organic pace of discovery, about ideas needing time to ferment and spread, are challenged by this immediate, unexpected assimilation of a futuristic concept by a local child. The delicate fabric of time feels stretched, almost transparent in places, revealing glimmers of a future that should be further away. The Wright brothers, too, seem to move with an accelerated rhythm. Their work appears more focused, their setbacks fewer, their progress faster. The distant sounds from their camp, the metallic clink, the whirring are more frequent, more assured. Her intervention, meant to merely nudge them towards safety, seems to have injected a potent catalyst into their creative process, perhaps even into the collective consciousness of the isolated community. She grapples with the ethical implications, the profound discomfort of realizing that her single act might be altering not just the trajectory of flight, but the very minds and aspirations of the people around her. It's a terrifying expansion of the butterfly effect. As the week concludes, a profound, chilling realization settles over her. Her quiet act was not just about aiding two inventors. It was about disturbing the intricate, delicate balance of an entire historical period. The future she knows, the future she left behind, feels more distant, more uncertain, its foundations subtly undermined by the ripples of her touch. She is no longer just a passive observer, but an accidental sculptor of time, and the weight of that responsibility, the terrifying unpredictability of her actions, leaves her deeply, profoundly unsettled. The wind, a constant presence on these dunes, now carries a sharper, more exhilarating quality, a subtle hint of speed and lift. She feels the familiar grit of sand beneath her feet, but it feels less like a burden, more like an anchor to this pivotal moment. The distant, sustained hum of the Wright brothers' engine, growing steadily more confident, has become the soundtrack to her days, an undeniable testament to accelerated progress. This week, she witnesses another milestone. The glider, now with its subtly altered wing profile, achieves a longer, more stable flight than she remembers from historical accounts. The sight of it suspended against the vast sky, even for a few precious seconds, sends a wave of conflicting emotions through her, a profound sting of guilt for her intervention, yet an undeniable surge of pride in their achievement. She watches the brothers, their faces alight with a mixture of wonder and triumph, and she knows, with a chilling certainty, that her small act has indeed influenced their trajectory. Her flight attendant's professional background, steeped in the advancements of modern aviation, makes this moment intensely personal. She understands the sheer audacity of what they are accomplishing, the impossible dream taking tangible form. Yet this knowing comes at a heavy cost. Her modern assumptions about her place in history as a mere visitor are irrevocably shattered. She is now an active participant, a silent co-conspirator in the genesis of flight, burdened by the secret knowledge of both its glorious future and its eventual devastating human toll. The joy of witnessing this nascent flight is tainted by the terrifying thought of the wars, the accidents, the environmental impact that will follow. The isolation she feels is profound, deeper than any physical solitude. She can celebrate this monumental leap with no one, for to do so would unravel the very fabric of time. She is a solitary keeper of a dangerous secret, an oracle of a future she has actively shaped. The quiet rhythm of the village, her adapted home, now feels distant, almost a sanctuary from the monumental events unfolding on the distant dunes. She still participates in the daily tasks, but her mind is constantly pulled to the horizon, to the fragile wooden wings cutting through the sky. As the sun sets, casting long, dramatic shadows across the sand, she feels an exhausting emotional fatigue. It is the burden of knowing too much, of witnessing history not as it happened, but as she unknowingly influenced it. The wind whispers of triumph, but within her, a complex mix of guilt, awe, and a terrifying sense of responsibility swirls. She has played a silent, vital role in changing the sky forever, and the weight of that silent contribution presses down on her, leaving her profoundly, irrevocably marked by the genesis of flight. The familiar scent of wood smoke, usually a source of comfort from Alara's hearth, now seems to carry a subtle, unsettling bitterness, an echo of her inner turmoil. She feels the coarse wool of her dress rub against her skin, a constant reminder of her adopted identity, which now feels tainted by her secret. The gentle murmur of village life, once soothing, occasionally feels distant, as if she's listening from behind a pane of glass. This week, the weight of her secret presses down, threatening to crack the fragile trust she has painstakingly built with Alara and the community. She watches Alara's kind, knowing eyes, and a wave of guilt washes over her. She has accepted their hospitality, shared their food, become a quiet fixture in their lives, all while harboring a monumental secret that affects not just her, but potentially their future. Her flight attendants' training emphasized honesty and transparency in communication, especially concerning safety. This deep-seated professional ethic now clashes with the absolute necessity of her silence, creating an internal dissonance that is deeply uncomfortable. The ripple effects of her intervention, though still subtle to the villagers, are a constant, gnawing presence for her. She notices small shifts, an increased curiosity in the local children towards building toy gliders with slightly curved wings, a subtle change in the rhythm of local life, as some men speak more animatedly about the flying men. These are not negative changes, but they are changes, unforeseen outcomes of her action, and the awareness strains her relationships. Her modern assumptions about control and predictability, once applied to flight schedules and cabin management, are utterly dismantled by the chaotic, unpredictable nature of temporal alteration. She fears that any deeper probe, any shift in the subtle patterns of the village, might trace back to her. She finds herself pulling back slightly from the intimate circle around Alara's fire, her participation a little less spontaneous, her smiles a touch more reserved. Her mind is constantly distracted, half listening to conversations about daily life, while the other half monitors the distant hum of the Wright's engine, or scans the children's hands for evidence of altered play. Her professional capacity to manage stress and compartmentalize thoughts is working overtime, trying to maintain her composure, her passenger-facing mask. Even in this deeply personal setting, the fear is not just of exposure, but of unknowingly harming the very people who have offered her solace. As the week ends, the beautiful, stark landscape feels less like a sanctuary and more like a vast, lonely stage for her secret. The genuine friendships she has formed, precious as they are, now feel burdened by her unspoken truth. She realizes that the most profound loneliness isn't just being alone, but being fundamentally unknowable to those you've grown to care for. Her secret, intended for progress, now threatens to fray the delicate threads of trust and belonging she has woven into this past, leaving her with an aching sense of being perpetually out of balance. The crisp morning air, sharp with the scent of salt and a new, almost metallic tang, carries the distinct sound of a distant engine revving, stronger and more consistent than she remembers. She feels the familiar sand cool beneath her bare feet, but her focus is no longer inward. Her gaze is fixed on the horizon, towards the dunes where the Wright brothers' camp stands. A profound shift has occurred within her this week, a quiet but firm acceptance. She no longer just observes the ripples of her intervention. She actively acknowledges her role as their architect. The guilt remains, a dull ache, but it is now tempered by a quiet, fierce resolve to bear the responsibility. Her flight attendant's training, which instilled in her the importance of leadership and accountability in unforeseen circumstances, now dictates her internal narrative. She has altered the flight path of history, and now she must live with the consequences, both known and unknown. She actively studies the brothers' progress, not just from a place of distant curiosity, but with a heightened sense of ownership over the trajectory their work now follows. Her modern assumptions about passive observation are entirely gone. She understands now that simply by being here, a creature of the future, she inherently affects the past. Her single act, however small, has amplified that effect, creating new currents in their shared reality. This understanding, while terrifying, also brings a strange clarity. She moves through the village with a renewed purpose, no longer shying away from interactions. She helps Alara with the fishing nets, her movements more deliberate, more grounded, as if anchoring herself to this new, evolving present. She engages with the children, watching their burgeoning curiosity, knowing she might have subtly influenced their world too. The sight of the Wright brothers' machine, looking more robust, more confident in its design, no longer fills her with unadulterated dread. Instead, there's a complex mix of apprehension and a strange, almost maternal pride. She thinks of the countless passengers she's guided through the skies of her future, their journeys made safe by the very science these men are now advancing, perhaps even accelerated by her subtle hint. This connection, however abstract, redefines her purpose here. She is not merely a survivor, she is, in a profound and secret way, a guardian of this nascent future. As the week ends, the setting sun paints the sky in familiar, comforting hues, yet the world feels entirely new. She sits by the ocean, feeling the cool spray on her face, and a quiet strength settles in her heart. She has moved beyond the shock, the fear, the guilt, into a space of resolute acceptance. She is no longer just Clara, the flight attendant, displaced and lost. She is Clara, the silent architect of a subtly altered reality. And in that profound, terrifying responsibility, she has found a new, undeniable sense of purpose. Her journey here has become about more than just surviving. It's about owning the new currents she has created in the river of time. The coastal wind, a constant companion, now feels less like an external force and more like an extension of her own breath, a living embrace on her face and through her hair. It carries the familiar scent of salt, damp earth, and distant wood smoke, a fragrance that has woven itself into the fabric of her being. She feels the fine grains of sand shifting around her feet, not as a nuisance, but as the ground beneath her roots, anchoring her to this specific patch of earth and time. This week, a profound connection forms within her, a bond with the land and its people that transcends the barriers of her displacement. She moves through the daily routines of the village with an effortless grace, her movements now as natural and unforced as the ebb and flow of the tide. Her flight attendant's ability to adapt to diverse environments and cultures, once applied to different airports and international cities, now finds its deepest expression in her immersion into this ancient way of life. She no longer consciously analyzes her place. She simply is within it, a part of its rhythm, its struggles, its quiet joys. Her modern assumptions about individuality and self-reliance have transformed. She is no longer just Clara, alone in the past, but Clara, part of the collective. She understands, truly understands, the intricate web of interdependence that sustains this community. Her professional skill in fostering a sense of calm and cooperation within a confined aircraft now translates to the broader sphere of village life. She finds herself intuitively mediating small squabbles among children, offering a comforting presence to an anxious mother. Her gestures and expressions communicating care, even when her words are still imperfect. This deep empathy forms a bridge beyond time and place. She still observes the distant camp of the Wright brothers, their tireless work, now an even more integrated part of the soundscape of her days. The whirring of their engine, the creak of their experimental airframe, no longer represent a terrifying intrusion, but a different form of human endeavor, a shared drive to understand and master their environment. Her subtle intervention, while still a quiet burden, now feels less like a transgression and more like a secret, shared destiny with humanity itself. She is connected to their ambition, to their future, and to the present moment all at once. As the week ends, a quiet, profound sense of belonging washes over her, deeper and more resilient than any she has felt before. It's not just an acceptance of her situation, but an embrace of it. She realizes that her journey has led her not just to a different time, but to a different kind of self. The coastal wind, once a symbol of her isolation, now feels like a gentle, constant reminder of a deeper connection forged. A sense of being truly rooted beyond the constraints of any single time or place. She is not just surviving. She is living, truly living, in the here and now. The morning fog, thick and cool against her skin, carries the sharp scent of damp earth and the distant, familiar cry of gulls. She feels the sturdy, sun-warmed wood of the fishing boat beneath her hands as she untangles a net, her fingers moving with a practiced ease that is now second nature. A flash of memory. The sleek, cool metal of a galley counter flickers, then fades, replaced by the immediate, tangible reality of the salty rope. Her heart feels subtly divided, pulled between a fading past and an insistent, powerful present. This week, the memories of her past life, once so vivid and insistent, feel more distant, like old photographs viewed through a hazy filter. The faces of colleagues, the roar of jet engines, the bright lights of airports, these details are becoming less sharp, their emotional resonance fading. In their place, the sounds and sights of Kitty Hawk grow stronger, more real. Her flight attendant's capacity for maintaining composure and focus under pressure, once a professional necessity, now serves a different purpose. It helps her navigate this internal landscape, acknowledging the fading echoes without letting them overwhelm the vibrant, tactile present. The allure of this present world, with its raw beauty and honest connections, grows stronger with each passing day. Her modern assumptions about personal identity, once defined by her profession and technological world, are quietly dissolving. She no longer feels herself struggling to reconcile her old self with her new one. Instead, she is simply her here now, engaged in the rhythms of this life. She finds herself instinctively using her organizational skills to streamline tasks in Alara's home, or applying her calm demeanor to soothe a fussing child, not as a performance, but as a genuine expression of her adapted self. These actions, once tied to a specific job, now feel like innate aspects of her character, finding new purpose in a different context. Even the presence of the Wright brothers' camp, though still a focus of her attention, no longer evokes the same desperate internal conflict. She watches their progress with a quiet understanding, a detached appreciation for their genius. But the personal anxiety about her intervention has lessened. She has accepted her role, and the future, whatever it now holds, is unfolding. The constant humming of their engine is just another sound in the rich tapestry of this environment. No longer a jarring reminder of a lost world, but a part of the emergent one she now inhabits. As the sun sets, painting the sky in colors too vivid for any screen, she feels a profound, almost aching sense of belonging. The loneliness that once permeated her existence has largely receded, replaced by the quiet comfort of being truly present. Her heart, once divided between two worlds, leans ever more heavily towards this one, drawn by the undeniable, visceral pull of real life lived, day by day, moment by moment, on this ancient, wind-swept shore. She realizes that while the past may linger, the present has claimed her, and in its raw embrace, she has found a new, unexpected, and powerful sense of peace. The comforting warmth of Alara's hand, unexpectedly brushing against hers as they mend a fishing net, sends a gentle current of connection through her. It's a simple, unspoken gesture, yet it speaks volumes, warmer than any heated cabin air. The scent of sun-dried linen and wood smoke, unique to Alara's home, now evokes a profound sense of belonging. She feels the familiar coarse twine against her fingers, but it is the soft, papery touch of Alara's skin that resonates, forging a deeper bond. This week, the quiet, profound bond between her and Alara deepens into something akin to familial affection. It's not just shared tasks, but shared silences, knowing glances, and an unspoken understanding forged in the crucible of their daily struggles. Her flight attendant's empathy, once a professional tool for managing passenger emotions, now flows freely and genuinely towards Alara, a woman whose wisdom and resilience have become a quiet anchor in Clara's improbable life. She finds herself anticipating Alara's unspoken needs with an almost intuitive understanding, a mirror of the unspoken cues she once exchanged with her long-term cabin crew partners. Her modern assumptions about what constitutes love or family have expanded, reshaped by the raw, authentic connections formed in this primitive setting. There are no declarations, no grand gestures, just the consistent, gentle touch of affection that stems from shared hardship and mutual respect. She learns, through Alara, the profound comfort of simply being present for another human, without the distractions of technology or the pressures of modern life. Her organizational skills, usually applied to logistical challenges, now manifest in ensuring Alara has warm water for her tea, or that the small dwelling is neat and orderly. Small acts of care that speak louder than any words. The distant hum of the Wright brothers' engine, a sound of relentless progress, continues to punctuate the quiet of the dunes, but its urgency has faded for her. It's a distant drumbeat of a future she knows, but it doesn't diminish the immediate, tangible warmth of Alara's presence. She watches the flying contraptions with a degree of detached fascination now, a silent witness, but her heart remains firmly anchored to the simple, profound human connection she has found here. The abstract concept of changing history feels less overwhelming when confronted with the tangible reality of a hand gently placed on hers. As the week ends, a warmth spreads through her chest, a feeling of being truly seen and valued, not for her forgotten profession or her impossible knowledge, but for herself. She realizes that connection, genuine affection, is not bound by time or circumstance. It's forged in the quiet moments of shared humanity, in the gentle touch of a hand, in the strength found together in the face of hardship. She is not just surviving in the past. She is thriving, deeply rooted in a profound bond that has become, in its quiet authenticity, a true form of love, beyond all her modern expectations. The strong, comforting aroma of baking bread, heavy with yeast, and the faint smokiness of a hearth fire, now greets her as she steps into Alara's dwelling. It's a scent that signifies sustenance, warmth, and the quiet rhythm of daily life. She feels the familiar weight of a wooden bucket as she sets it down, her arm muscles toned and strong from weeks of manual labor. The rough wool of her dress feels like a second skin, a testament to the life she has painstakingly, unexpectedly built here. This week, she looks around at the small dwelling, at the faces of Alara and the children, and a profound realization settles over her. She has built a life. It's not the life she left behind, nor one she ever imagined, but it is real, tangible, and deeply meaningful. Her flight attendant's capacity for meticulous organization, once directed at ensuring cabin efficiency, now applies to the seamless flow of daily tasks in Alara's home. Her quiet contributions are not just accepted, but expected, and her presence is woven into the fabric of their days. This is her reality, filled with genuine relationships and a newfound sense of purpose. Her modern assumptions about what constitutes a successful or fulfilling life have undergone a complete overhaul. She once measured success by career advancement, travel, and personal comforts. Here, it's measured by a bountiful harvest, a healthy child, a mended net, the warmth of a shared meal. She realizes the deep, enduring value of simple, tangible labor, of contributing directly to the sustenance and well-being of a community. Her ability to read people, honed by years of customer service, now allows her to navigate the subtle social dynamics, offering comfort, support, or a helping hand with an intuitive grace that makes her an invaluable, if silent, member of their small society. The distant sounds from the Wright brothers' camp, the methodical hammering, the whirring of their engine, the distinct creak of wood under stress, are now simply part of the background, a distant murmur. They represent a future she knows, a future she subtly influenced, but one that no longer consumes her thoughts with longing or regret. Her focus is firmly rooted in the present, in the laughter of the children, the shared warmth of Alara's fire, the feel of the sand between her toes. Her life here, though born of an impossible displacement, has become her authentic existence, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to adapt and thrive. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery, familiar hues, she feels a deep sense of quiet contentment. She has not just survived in a world not her own. She has actively built a place within it. She has formed profound bonds, forged through shared hardship and quiet affection. The flight attendant from 2023 is still a part of her, a ghost of memory. But the woman she has become rooted in the sands of 1903 Kitty Hawk, is solid, present, and undeniably real. Her journey has become an unexpected testament to the enduring power of human connection and the profound resilience of finding home where one least expects it. The rich, pungent smell of wood smoke, so familiar now, drifts through the cool morning air, mingling with the clean, sharp scent of the ocean. She feels the warmth of the sun on her face, a steady, comforting presence as she walks along the shore. Her bare feet press into the damp sand, a familiar, grounding sensation that has replaced the smooth, polished floors of airports. And as she looks out at the vast, unchanging ocean, a profound and unexpected realization settles in her heart. She no longer wants to leave. This week, the quiet whisper of a desire to return to her own time has faded entirely, replaced by a deep, undeniable contentment with her present existence. The initial shock, the grief for her lost life, has transformed into a powerful appreciation for the simple, elemental beauty of Kitty Hawk in 1903. Her flight attendant's capacity for adapting to unforeseen circumstances, for finding peace in the present moment amidst chaos, now guides her acceptance. She finds a profound satisfaction in the tangible reality of her days. The feel of rough hands at work, the taste of fresh fish, the warmth of a shared fire, the uncomplicated joy of children at play. This simple existence, once a terrifying challenge, has become a cherished refuge. Her modern assumptions about what constitutes a full life have irrevocably changed. The endless pursuit of more, of faster, of newer, now seems like a distant, hollow echo. Here, value is found in resilience, in community, in the direct connection to nature. Her skills, once utilized to manage complex logistical challenges and diverse human interactions at 30,000 feet, are now grounded, serving the immediate, vital needs of her adopted community. She offers her calm demeanor to a worried mother, her steady hands to a difficult task, her quiet presence to those who seek it. These small acts of service feel more profound, more real than any five-star service she once provided. The distant hum of the Wright brothers' engine, now a frequent, confident presence, no longer stirs in her a longing for her future. Instead, it feels like a separate, parallel ambition, a historical event she is privileged to witness, but not one she feels compelled to rejoin. Their quest to conquer the sky is theirs alone. Her desire is to remain firmly rooted on the earth, in the life she has built. The future they will create, the one she came from, now seems complex, noisy, and subtly less appealing than the quiet, honest reality of her present. As the week ends, a quiet, profound certainty settles in her soul. She has found her home. It's not a return, but an arrival, a complete immersion into a life she never chose, but now deeply desires, the unforeseen desire to remain here, on this windswept shore, among these simple, honest people, is a powerful truth. She is no longer just a visitor from another time, but a woman rooted in this time, her future inextricably linked to the sands of Kitty Hawk. 1903. The air tastes thick and heavy, with an unusual electrical charge, carrying a deep, ominous scent of ozone and distant rain. She feels the fine grains of sand whip against her face, driven by a wind that has suddenly turned violent and unpredictable. Her gaze sweeps the horizon, drawn by the churning, bruised purple clouds gathering like an angry bruise over the ocean. A storm is on the horizon, not just a weather event, but a major threat, a primal force challenging the quiet life she has built. This week, the newfound peace of her existence is shattered by the looming threat of a coastal storm, a powerful hurricane that could devastate the fragile community. Her flight attendants' training in emergency preparedness, in assessing risk and executing rapid evacuations, kicks into high gear. She mentally catalogs every dwelling, every resource, every vulnerable person. She observes the villagers, their faces etched with a familiar, deep-seated apprehension, and she feels the shared anxiety, not as a professional observer, but as a member of their threatened family. Her modern assumptions about sophisticated warning systems, about sturdy reinforced shelters, are cruelly irrelevant here. Their defenses are rudimentary, their survival dependent on instinct and communal effort. She moves with a focused urgency, her hands skilled and strong as she helps secure fishing boats, reinforce dwellings with driftwood and rope, and gather supplies. Her ability to remain calm and decisive under pressure, a core tenet of her profession, proves invaluable. She finds herself directing others with gestures, her quiet authority understood and accepted in the face of crisis. She helps Alara gather their meager possessions, her movements efficient, her focus unwavering. The thought of the emergency exits on an airplane, the clear, swift procedures for a cabin evacuation, feels both impossibly distant and strangely mirrored in the desperate, coordinated efforts to protect their homes. The distant sounds from the Wright brothers' camp have ceased entirely, their experimental aircraft now dismantled and secured against the impending fury of nature. Even their monumental quest for flight pales in comparison to the immediate, visceral threat of the storm. Her brief intervention, her alteration of their timeline, feels utterly insignificant in the face of this overwhelming natural power. She realizes that while humanity may reach for the skies, it remains eternally vulnerable to the raw, untamed forces of the earth. As the week ends, the first heavy drops of rain begin to fall, and the wind howls like a hungry beast. She stands with Alara and the children in their small, trembling dwelling, feeling the wooden walls creak around them. The strength of her newfound life, the quiet resilience she has cultivated, is about to be tested in the most primal way imaginable. She is no longer just a woman from another time, but a part of this vulnerable community, facing down the storm together, her roots dug deep into the very sand that will soon be lashed by the ocean's fury. The fear is real, but so is the unwavering resolve to weather it. Side by side, the terrifying roar of the crashing waves, a deafening primal force, drowns out all other sounds, even the frantic howling of the wind. She feels the walls of Alara's small dwelling shudder, the rough wood vibrating against her back, and the biting sting of salt water spraying through the cracks. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth, brine, and primal fear. In the flickering light of a single oil lamp, she sees Alara's eyes, wide with terror, fixed on the struggling wall. This week, amidst the terrifying onslaught of the hurricane, a perilous truth is exposed. A crashing wave, more powerful than the others, tears a section of the wall from Alara's dwelling, exposing Clara's hidden satchel. Inside, amidst her modern uniform, a small, laminated airline identification card, emblazoned with her name, and a futuristic aircraft, tumbles onto the wet sand. Her true identity, her impossible origin, is suddenly, violently laid bare. The flickering lamplight catches Alara's gaze, her eyes fixed not on the raging storm, but on the impossible object, a profound confusion replacing her terror. Her flight attendant's training for crisis management, for maintaining calm and controlling a panicked environment, suddenly feels utterly useless. This isn't a mechanical failure, it's a temporal one, a breach of the fundamental laws of their reality. Her modern assumptions about privacy, about compartmentalizing her past, are shattered by the raw force of nature and the undeniable evidence. She sees the disbelief, then a flicker of something akin to fear in Alara's eyes as she points a trembling finger at the card. The storm outside rages, but an even more profound, personal storm erupts within the small, trembling shelter. She scrambles to retrieve the card, her hands shaking, knowing that explaining the inexplicable is impossible. Her professional ability to de-escalate, to find common ground, fails completely in the face of this incomprehensible truth. She can offer no logical explanation for a plastic card with an image of a giant metal bird. The silence that follows Alara's discovery, broken only by the shriek of the wind, is heavier than any words. The trust, so carefully built over months, now hangs in the balance, threatened not by a lie, but by an unbelievable truth. She sees the children huddled, their innocent eyes reflecting their mother's shock as the storm rages outside, threatening to rip their fragile world apart. A different kind of devastation unfolds within. The revelation of her true identity, exposed under a crashing wave, has laid bare a chasm between her and the people she has come to love. The terrifying unpredictability of the hurricane is matched only by the equally terrifying unpredictability of human reaction to the impossible. She feels a profound, aching despair. Her greatest secret exposed has created an unbridgeable distance, perhaps forever altering her place in this hard-won life. The future, the past, and her present now blur into a single, terrifying moment of absolute vulnerability. The raw, biting scent of sodden wood and salt water fills the air, heavy with the lingering aftermath of the storm. She feels the damp, cold sand clinging to her feet, a physical echo of the chill settling in her heart. The once sturdy dwelling where she found a quiet home now stands damaged, a gaping hole in its side, a tangible symbol of the gaping wound in her carefully constructed life. Alara's gaze, though no longer fearful, still holds an unsettling wariness, a distant, questioning look that cuts deeper than any physical pain. This week, the storm has passed, but a different kind of devastation remains. The revelation of her identity has cast a long, cold shadow over everything she has built. Alara's silence, once a comfort, now feels like a wall. The warmth that once radiated from their shared tasks has diminished, replaced by a subtle awkwardness, an unspoken distance. Her modern uniform, the airline ID, the impossible proof of her origins. These objects now feel like dangerous foreign artifacts, threatening the very fabric of her existence here. She knows a difficult sacrifice is required, a severing of ties, a retreat, to protect what little remains of her place in this community. Her flight attendant's training in safety protocols, in identifying threats and containing them, now demands a painful, personal application. Her presence, her impossible truth, is a threat to the peaceful rhythm of the village. She understands that her role now is not to explain, but to remove the source of their confusion and unease. Her modern assumptions about open communication and rational explanation are utterly useless against the deeply ingrained beliefs and superstitions of this era. She knows that to truly belong, she must erase the evidence of her unbelonging, even if it means sacrificing the closest relationships she has ever known here. She watches the distant camp of the Wright brothers, their damaged workshop, a mirror of her own internal turmoil. Their struggles are physical and mechanical. Hers are existential and emotional, yet there's a shared resilience in the face of adversity, a quiet determination to rebuild. She realizes that her presence near them, a woman from the future of their own invention, is perhaps too dangerous a proximity, a constant reminder of the impossible. The thought of leaving, of severing her hard-won ties with Alara, brings a sharp physical ache, a profound sense of loss. As the sun, weak but persistent, breaks through the clearing clouds, she feels the sharp edge of loss. Everything she has built, the trust, the affection, the sense of home is at risk. She faces a choice, a sacrifice of unimaginable personal cost. To save the delicate ecosystem of this past, and perhaps the future itself, she must withdraw, becoming once again a solitary observer, her heart heavy with the profound and necessary sacrifice of her hard-won belonging. The quiet comfort she had found here is replaced by the stark, cold reality of her unique burden, leaving her alone once more. Though irrevocably changed, the piercing, distressed cry of a child, sharp and raw, slices through the morning calm, immediately followed by the frantic murmur of frightened voices. A bitter, acrid scent of something burning, mingled with the familiar smell of damp sand, fills the air. She feels a sudden, ice-cold rush of adrenaline, a visceral reaction that bypasses thought, mimicking the instant surge of alertness she once experienced during an in-flight emergency. Her gaze, sharpened by instinct, sweeps towards the source of the commotion, a small cluster of dwellings near the shore. This week, her resolve is tested not by introspection, but by a sudden, brutal crisis. A young boy, one of Alara's grandchildren, has fallen near a cooking fire, sustaining a severe burn to his arm. Panic ripples through the small gathering of villagers. Her flight attendant's training, dormant but deeply ingrained, instantly kicks in. Her mind rapidly processes the scene. Assess the injury, ensure breathing, prevent infection. She pushes past the lingering awkwardness with Alara, the memory of the exposed ID card, and moves with a calm, decisive urgency she hasn't fully wielded since her arrival in 1903. She motions for clear water, for clean linen, her gestures authoritative yet reassuring, cutting through the rising tide of fear. Her modern assumptions about immediate medical care, about sterile bandages and powerful analgesics, are starkly absent. She has no burn cream, no antibiotics. Instead, she applies the principles. Cool the burn with water, gently, continuously. She improvises a clean dressing from a piece of carefully preserved linen, her hands moving with a practiced, gentle precision. Her calm voice, though speaking in fragmented dialect, seems to soothe the frightened child and, surprisingly, the agitated adults. She feels Alara's hesitant gaze on her, a flicker of doubt, perhaps, but also a desperate, unspoken plea for help that transcends any previous suspicion. The very act of caring, of using her skills to mitigate suffering, rebuilds a fragile bridge of trust, not with words, but with action. She remembers the detailed first aid drills, the importance of quick assessment, the calm delivery of instructions. Here, it's stripped down to its most fundamental, brutal essence. Her knowledge of anatomy helps her understand the severity of the burn, the risk of infection. She wishes for the basic tools of her trade, the sterile gloves, the antiseptic wipes, the specialized bandages, but makes do with the primitive resources available. Her resourcefulness, born of necessity and years of adapting to limited supplies in a compact galley. The focus of the emergency pushes aside all other thoughts: her displacement, her secret, her guilt. Only the present need matters. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows over the village, the child is resting, his feverish cries subsided, his arm carefully bandaged. She feels a profound, bone-deep exhaustion, but also a quiet sense of triumph. Her resolve, tested in the crucible of a real crisis, has held. She has not only used her professional skills in an unexpected way, but she has also, in a small but vital measure, re-established a tenuous connection with the community. The fear of her secret lingers, but for now, the immediate, tangible act of saving a child from pain has reminded everyone, including herself, of the enduring power of compassion and competence, even across the vast, impossible chasm of time. The soothing scent of a healing salve, made from local herbs, now mingles with the ever-present smell of salt and wood smoke. She feels the warm, gentle pressure of a small hand gripping hers, a gesture of trusting affection from the boy whose burn she tended. The rough wool of her dress feels completely natural, a part of her, not a costume. She looks out at the familiar expanse of the dunes, and the woman she sees reflected in the quiet strength of her own gaze is not the one who first landed here. This week marks a profound internal transformation. The girl from 2023, the flight attendant with her modern comforts and anxieties, has largely faded. In her place stands a woman forged in the fires of adaptation, resilience, and unexpected purpose. Her identity is now inextricably linked to the sands of Kitty Hawk, 1903. Her flight attendant's capacity for calm under pressure, for compassionate service, and for resourceful problem solving, once confined to the cabins of aircraft, has been refined and expanded in the raw, demanding reality of the past. These aren't just skills anymore. They are the very essence of who she has become. Her modern assumptions about what defines a life technology, speed, personal advancement, are gone. They are replaced by an understanding of elemental truths, the importance of community, the dignity of labor, the profound peace found in simplicity. Her unique knowledge of the future, once a heavy burden and source of isolation, now feels less like a secret to guard and more like a quiet, internal compass, guiding her actions within this present. She moves through the village not as a stranger, but as a known and accepted member, her actions speaking louder than any words. Her past anomaly, now less significant than her present contributions. She still observes the distant Wright brothers' camp. The sounds of their continued work, the mechanical whirring, the occasional test flights, are simply part of the fabric of her world. She watches them with a quiet respect, a knowledge that she played a small, silent part in their accelerated journey. But her focus is on the tangible reality of her own life, the boy's hand in hers, Alara's soft, acknowledging gaze, the communal effort of rebuilding after the storm. These are the anchors of her existence, more immediate and meaningful than any future she once knew. She has become intimately tied to the daily struggles and triumphs of these people, her life woven into theirs. As the sun sets, painting the vast sky in its nightly spectacle, she feels a profound sense of peace. The journey that began with terror and isolation has culminated in an unexpected, powerful belonging. She is not just a survivor. She is a woman transformed, her identity forged in the raw, beautiful crucible of time. The stranger who landed on these shores has become an integral part of its story. Her strength not in what she remembers of the future, but in what she has built and truly lived in the past. She is home. The gentle warmth of the morning sun kisses her face as she walks along the shore. The rhythmic whisper of the waves, a soothing cadence. The familiar scent of salt and damp sand is deeply comforting, a part of her now. She feels the smooth, cool surface of a weathered shell in her hand, a small, tangible piece of this ancient landscape. Her gaze drifts across the horizon, a vast, unbroken line that once represented an impossible chasm, but now signifies possibility. This week, as 40 weeks begin to draw to a close, a profound sense of reflection washes over her. She remembers the initial terror, the disorientation, the desperate search for an emergency exit in a world that had none. She recalls the raw fear of the unknown, the isolation, the longing for a life that felt impossibly distant. Now, that memory feels like a dream, a ghost of a past self. The flight attendant who landed here, accustomed to climate-controlled cabins and sterile environments, has been utterly transformed. She is grounded, not just physically in the sand, but emotionally in the rhythm of this life. Her modern assumptions about time, about progress, about individual ambition, have been reshaped by the slow, organic unfolding of life in 1903. Her flight attendant skills, once focused on efficient service and safety in the air, have found new, deeply meaningful applications on the ground. She has learned to mend nets, to forage for food, to nurse a child through illness, to offer silent comfort, and to build genuine connections that transcend language and era. These are not merely survival skills, they are the bedrock of her new identity, proving that competence and compassion are universal, adaptable virtues. The distant hum of the Wright brothers' engine, more confident and sustained than ever, is a constant reminder of the monumental change on the horizon. She watches their tests with a calm, almost detached appreciation, knowing the future they will birth, a future she subtly influenced. But her attention no longer fixates on them as a way back or a symbol of loss. Instead, she sees them as a parallel journey, another striving of humanity towards the impossible, just as her own journey has been. The future of flight, once her world, is now a historical event she is privileged to witness. From the quiet sanctuary of her adopted home, as the sun begins its slow ascent, warming the expansive dunes, a quiet understanding blossoms within her. Her journey from disoriented to grounded has been one of unexpected grace, of profound learning, and of finding a new, authentic self in the most improbable of circumstances. She realizes that life, in its most fundamental form, is not about where you are from, or even where you are going, but about how deeply you choose to live in the present moment, and the connections you forge along the way. No matter how vast the distances in time or space may be, the crisp, clean air of the pre-dawn, sharp with the scent of pine and salt, whispers around her, feeling like a fond farewell. She feels the smooth, cool wood of the small, carved bird alara placed in her hand, a gesture of quiet blessing. Its simple form, a stark contrast to the sophisticated aircraft of her memory, holds more meaning now than any technological marvel. As she looks towards the village, a single lamp glows warmly in Alara's dwelling, a beacon of the life she has built. This week, a profound sense of finality and resolution settles over her. She stands on the precipice of a new beginning, not a return, but a full, unreserved commitment to this present. The internal goodbyes to her past life are complete. The frantic, busy airports, the hum of engines, the faces of strangers in cabin rows, these memories no longer sting with longing, but exist as distant echoes, almost like a story heard long ago. Her flight attendant's journey of adaptation, from disoriented and lost to fully grounded, has reached its quiet, triumphant conclusion. She moves with a calm confidence, her steps sure on the shifting sand, her rough hands capable and strong. Her professional life, once defined by schedules and service, has been distilled into its purest essence, connection and care. She has spent these weeks solidifying her place within the community, offering her steady presence and practical skills wherever needed. Her ability to anticipate needs, to organize, to maintain composure in a crisis, once assets in an emergency landing, are now simply a part of her daily contribution to a shared existence. Her modern assumptions about control and predictability have completely given way to an embrace of the elemental, the unpredictable rhythm of nature and community. She no longer battles the currents of this time. She swims with them, a part of the flow. She walks towards the distant dunes, drawn by the almost tangible hum of anticipation from the Wright brothers' camp. The historic flight is imminent, a colossal event that will reshape the world she left behind and the world she now inhabits. She observes them, not with the anxiety of an intervener, nor the longing of an exile, but with the quiet dignity of a witness. Her subtle intervention, the altered blueprint, is a secret she carries, a part of her personal history woven into the fabric of this era. She knows the future that is about to unfold, but her heart is now firmly rooted in the present, with the people and the land she has come to call home. As the first rays of the sun paint the horizon in soft, hopeful colors, a profound, quiet peace settles within her. She has accepted her fate, not with resignation, but with a deep, unwavering sense of purpose. The journey through time, once a terrifying displacement, has led her to an unforeseen destination, a new life, a new identity, and a quiet, profound belonging. She is no longer just observing the horizon of change. She is standing firmly within it, ready to embrace whatever new beginnings the future. Her future, in 1903 Kitty Hawk, may hold the scent of salt and drying fish, combined with the fainter, more exhilarating aroma of engine exhaust, now defines the air of Kitty Hawk, a blend of ancient tradition and nascent modernity. She feels the familiar warmth of the sand beneath her bare feet, no longer a foreign sensation, but a grounding connection to this evolving landscape. Her gaze, sweeping across the village, notices the subtle changes, the quiet hum of increased ambition and curiosity that now permeates the community. This week, she reflects on the subtle, yet undeniable legacy of her presence here. It's not just the whispered suggestion of an improved airfoil, the blueprint altered, but the countless small interactions, the acts of quiet compassion, the simple sharing of her calm and resourceful nature that have left a gentle imprint on this world. Her flight attendant's training, initially a source of anachronistic frustration, ultimately provided the very tools for her adaptation and influence. Her ability to organize, to manage crisis, to foster trust. These skills, applied in an unexpected context, have made her a silent yet powerful force in the shaping of this small corner of history. Her modern assumptions about linear progress and grand interventions have dissolved, replaced by an understanding of the profound power of gentle ripples. She sees it in the children's eager curiosity, a subtle acceleration of their understanding of what is possible. She sees it in Alara's knowing glances, a depth of trust forged not despite her strangeness, but perhaps, in some way, because of it. Her very being, a woman from a future shaped by the very technology taking root here, has acted as a catalyst, an unspoken promise of what is to come. She has helped to nudge this world gently towards its inevitable, yet now slightly accelerated destiny. She stands on a dune, watching the Wright brothers' latest, more confident test flight. The machine lifts, holds, and descends with a grace that is undeniably improved. The sustained whir of the engine fills the air, a song of triumph. She carries the knowledge of her specific contribution, the single sketch that perhaps saved them precious time and effort, but she also recognizes that her broader presence, her very existence here, has been an ongoing, silent intervention, a gentle shaping of perceptions and possibilities. The abstract concept of the butterfly effect now feels deeply personal, woven into the fabric of her daily life. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in a blaze of glory, she feels a quiet, profound sense of peace. Her journey here, born of accident, has evolved into a destiny of quiet influence. She is not just a witness to history. She is, in a deeply personal and meaningful way, a part of its silent, unfolding narrative, the legacy of her whisper, the gentle imprint of her presence, will continue to resonate through the sands of time, shaping a future she will never truly know, but has undoubtedly touched. Her existence here, once a burden, is now a testament to the unforeseen power of an ordinary person in an extraordinary circumstance. The salt-laden air, a constant companion for 39 weeks, now feels like the very breath of home. She feels the familiar warmth of the communal fire on her face, the rhythmic creak of the old wooden floorboards beneath her calloused feet, the comforting scent of simmering stew mixed with the faint aroma of wood smoke fills Alara's dwelling, a sensory tapestry of her settled life. No longer does she search for departures. She embraces the quiet, profound peace of being exactly where she is. This week, a profound calm settles within her. The flight attendant, who once yearned for a return to her own time, for the sterile comfort of a modern aircraft, is gone. In her place stands a woman whose spirit has found its true north on this windswept shore. Her initial disorientation has yielded to a deep-seated belonging, a fierce, quiet contentment. Her flight attendant's training, once a professional identity, has transformed into a fundamental aspect of her character. Resilient, observant, compassionate, and resourceful, these qualities, now fully integrated into her daily existence, anchor her in this moment, in this life. Her modern assumptions about movement and progress about always heading to the next destination, have completely dissolved. Life here is cyclical, rooted in the rhythms of the tides and seasons, in the enduring strength of community. She finds deep satisfaction in the tangible realities of her days, mending nets, foraging for food, caring for the sick, sharing laughter around a fire. She no longer looks for the fastest route or the most efficient system. She values the patience of the process, the shared effort, the quiet dignity of a life lived simply and authentically. Her unique perspective, once a source of isolation, now gives her a profound appreciation for the raw, human beauty of this unadorned existence. The distant hum of the Wright brothers' engine is a familiar background noise, a constant reminder of the imminent birth of the future of flight. She watches their progress with a quiet, almost reverent awe, a silent acknowledgement of the monumental leap they are about to make. She carries the secret of her intervention, the knowledge of the subtle acceleration she provided, but it no longer weighs heavily. It is a part of her story here, a gentle ripple in the vast ocean of time, and she has made peace with it. Her life is now inextricably linked to this moment, to these people, to this specific point in history. As the sun sets, casting long, familiar shadows across the dunes, a deep and unshakable peace settles in her heart. She is no longer searching for an exit, no longer yearning for a departure. She has found her place, her true home, in the salty air and shifting sands of Kitty Hawk, 1903. The journey has been long, impossible, and utterly transformative. She is a woman who, against all odds, has truly arrived. And in this unexpected arrival, she has found an enduring, profound contentment that transcends all boundaries of time and memory. She is, finally, at peace. The crisp, cold December air, sharp with the scent of salt, and a new, almost tangible electricity, crackles around her. It's a tension that has nothing to do with storms, but everything to do with destiny. She feels the familiar fine sand, frigid now beneath her rough boots, a grounding anchor. The distant, persistent drone of the Wright brothers' engine, a sound she knows intimately now, has reached a fever pitch, vibrating through the very earth. Her gaze is fixed on Kill Devil Hills, where the strange, biplane contraption stands poised against the pale morning sky, its wooden wings shivering slightly in the wind. This week, the world holds its breath, though only a handful of souls truly know it. She stands with a small cluster of villagers, a few curious locals, watching the impossible unfold. Her flight attendant's understanding of the basic mechanics of flight, once a professional necessity, now makes this moment intensely visceral. She sees the men push the flyer down its launching rail. She hears the engine roar, distinct and powerful. And then, with a lurch that tightens her stomach, the machine lifts. Its It's awkward, wobbly, but it's flying. For 12 breathless seconds, it hangs in the air, a metal bird defying gravity, a miracle taking form against the endless, vast canvas of the sky. Her heart swells with an impossible mixture of awe, a silent, secret pride for her small, historical intervention, and an overwhelming, bittersweet sorrow for the world that will never be the same. Her professional life, once dedicated to safely transporting people across the skies, now culminates in witnessing the very genesis of that possibility. She, a veteran of global air travel, is present at its first fragile breath. Her modern assumptions about fixed history, about the unalterable past, are now shattered, replaced by the profound, terrifying understanding that a single, quiet whisper can indeed change the course of human endeavor. But even as the flyer touches down, her mind isn't on the future it promises, but on the tangible, human connections she has forged here. The faces of the villagers, a mixture of disbelief and hesitant wonder, are her anchor. She sees Alara's hand instinctively reach for her own, a gesture of shared, speechless marvel that transcends the impossible chasm of their origins. Her former self, the Clara from 2023, is truly gone. The woman standing on the sands of 1903 Kitty Hawk is someone new, forged in the crucible of adaptation, enriched by hardship, and deeply rooted in the simple, honest rhythms of this life. Her skills, the ability to remain calm in a crisis, to organize, to empathize, to lead with quiet resolve, have found their most profound application not in the sterile cabins of an aircraft, but in the rough, beautiful reality of this coastal community. She is no longer searching for a departure gate or an escape route. She has found her destination. As the triumphant, if brief, flight concludes, and the brothers look at their machine with a quiet, revolutionary satisfaction, she feels an overwhelming sense of peace. The endless sky, once a symbol of her profession, a gateway to distant lands, now represents a different kind of freedom. It is the freedom of being truly present, of having found her authentic self in an unforeseen time and place. Her journey through time, once a terrifying displacement, has become her greatest voyage, leading her to a home she never knew she needed, an unforeseen destination where a flight attendant, against all odds, has truly landed.